Good morning. We are going to begin by singing Spirit of Life, and this morning we're going to sing it through twice, the first in English and then the second time in Spanish. Some of you may have sung the Spanish lyrics before, but we invite you to join on in. They'll be up on the screen. Number 123 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body and spirit. We are here this morning because somewhere, sometime, we heard the Spirit of Life calling to us, calling us out of isolation into community, out of fear into courage, out of heartbreak into hope. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome into this loving community of seekers where we strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. It is good to be together this morning. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton. My pronouns are she, her, and I am delighted to welcome you into community this morning, whether you're joining us here in person in our physical sanctuary or online in our virtual sanctuary. We are one community on this one earth under this one summer sky. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors, friends, and family we have with us this morning here in person or in our gathered community. We would love to get to know you better. You can stop by our welcome table in the courtyard after the service. You can click the visitor link above the screen so that we can keep connected to you and let you know about all the things that are coming up in the life of this congregation, because it should not surprise anyone that during the summer, things still are exciting and moving here at the Unitarian Society, and we have some wonderful new events coming up this July that I want to highlight. We also have, after the service next Sunday, an opportunity to hear more about our capital campaign. We're going to be Zooming our capital campaign consultant, Rachel, into the big screen in Parish Hall. So please join us after the service next Sunday. It will be a very special service on the 100th anniversary of the Santa Barbara earthquake that morning. So join us next Sunday as well. This Sunday after service, there is going to be a gathering of anyone who's interested in leadership in the congregation and working toward an event this fall, which is going to be a sort of a community, committee, and team fair. So if you are the chair of a committee, if you are in leadership on any one of our teams, please join Annalie Zwicky and the leadership team after the service at one of those tables in Parish Hall for a conversation about how we can let everyone know about all the opportunities to get engaged here in this community. This summer in July, we're going to be starting a new small group. The summer is for dreaming. We are going to have a dream group starting up. This is facilitated by one of our members who does this work in her practice, and she would love to share this dream work with those of you who are interested in gathering a small group. So if you've ever been interested in learning what it means to reflect on what comes up for you in your dreams, this is a wonderful opportunity to do that in a community. We also have an Irish dance and music evening coming up in July. We have a repair cafe coming up in July. So keep an eye on those Friday emails and that insert in your order of service and join us over the summer here at the Unitarian Society. I'd like to invite us now to take a breath, to settle ourselves wherever we are. Allow yourself the gift of this moment of coming together in this community, as we ring our bell and let the sound connect us.
Good morning. If you're joining us in our online sanctuary and would like to participate from home, please type into the chat, "Chalice is lit," and the name of your street or town. While we cannot see the flames, we know they're burning bright throughout our far-flung community. The words for this morning's chalice lighting are by Dr. Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Each week, we call out something or someone special that has made our world a better, safer, more loving place. I would like to lift up this morning the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors, and I'm as surprised as you might be by this. Okay. But last week, the board unanimously approved $240,000 in mental health funding for folks impacted by deportations and family separations. These funds will go towards expanding trauma-informed mental health services through the Immigrant Legal Defense Center. And I want to especially call out the role that Board Chair Laura Capps played in championing this incredibly worthy and regrettably timely initiative. As Supervisor Capps said, "This is a terrifying moment in our history as a nation of immigrants. The need is undeniable. Our community cannot afford to ignore the trauma that many local children and families are experiencing due to deportation actions and family separation. This investment reflects our values and our responsibility to protect the mental health of all Santa Barbara residents. We cannot control federal immigration policy, but we can control how we respond. We can meet fear with compassion. We can prioritize mental health, and we can make sure that no family suffers alone." Thank you, Board of Supervisors and President Capps.
We are going to sing once more, "There's a River." It's in the Teal hymnal if you would like to rise in body and spirit and sing together.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charla Bragante. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the director of Lifespan Religious Exploration around these parts. And it's time for a story. So I want to invite everyone who likes a good story to come sit up on the steps here and join me. I think I'm going to sit on the steps today, too. So maybe make a little space for me. That would be great. Yeah, but I think for this one I need to be down here, though. And while people are coming up, I just wanted to echo what Julia said about things not, shutting down around here over this summer. In Children's RE, we move everything outside. We focus on imagination and being outside in the summer, and we've got a lot of fun stuff planned every Sunday this summer. There's a calendar on the RE table in the garden you can pick up. So anyway, let's tell our story. And Carolyn, I think it's really important that you join us for this story today. Can you scoot over just a little bit, Clark, so Carolyn can sit next to me? Because this story is it's especially for Carolyn today. And some of you kids, I don't know if you all know Carolyn, but she's been our ministerial intern for the past year and a half. Well, what's a ministerial intern, for heaven's sake? Well, if any of you had like a student teacher at school, someone who's learning how to be a teacher, yeah. So one way student teachers learn how to be teachers is to work in a classroom along with a credentialed teacher. And well, one way that Carolyn is learning how to be a minister is been to work in our church with Reverend Julia, an ordained minister. So Carolyn has been learning a lot from Julia this last year and a half, and a lot from all of us too, I think. But Carolyn, did you know that just a little more than 160 years ago, you might not have been able to be a minister? And Julia either. She might not have been able to be a minister either. Well, it's true. Because there was a time when women weren't allowed to be ministers. But don't despair. Because I've got a story about a woman who helped change all that. And her name is Olympia Brown. And she was born way back in 1835. Here's her story. When Olympia Brown was little, girls weren't supposed to whistle. Girls weren't supposed to climb trees or run fast, I know, or catch frogs. Clark's going, what? or catch frogs, but Olympia did. She did all those things and more. You can do whatever a boy can do, her mother and father told her. And Olympia knew it was true. She climbed trees and ran fast and caught frogs, and when she was in school, she answered the teacher's questions loud and clear. I bet you did that too, right, Carolyn? Yeah, I bet you did. Little girls ought to be quiet, said one lady in town. Little girls ought not to make themselves heard. What? I know. But Olympia did. She had a voice, and she was going to use it every day. When Olympia Brown was a teenager, young women weren't supposed to go to college. Young women weren't supposed to leave home to go off and learn complicated things, but Olympia did. She did all those things and more. Olympia left home and went to Antioch College. She went to class and studied and learned all kinds of complicated things. Young women ought not to be in college, said one professor at that school. But since they're here, they must read their reports. Young women ought not to give speeches from memory like a man. But Olympia did. When it was her turn to present her report, she rolled up the papers in her hand and said each and every word loud and clear. Olympia Brown had a voice, and she was going to use it every day. When Olympia Brown was in college, women weren't supposed to wear pants. I know, Clark is really, this is all news to Clark, so, and this is just, women weren't supposed to wear anything except very long dresses that came all the way down to their toes. But Olympia did. She wore dresses that came down only past her knees, and under them she dared to wear pants. Bloomers, the pants were called, after Amelia Bloomer, the woman who had created them a few years before. Women ought not to show their ankles in public, exclaimed some of the men, and women certainly ought not to wear pants. But Olympia did. I should have worn pants today. But Olympia did. She wore her bloomers every day, no matter how much the men sneered. When Olympia finished with college, women weren't supposed to be ministers. Women never stood up in front of a congregation and talked about God, but Olympia did. She did all those things and more. Olympia graduated from the theological school at St. Lawrence University in 1863, and she was ordained as a Universalist minister in June of that year. And here's the important part. The first woman ever to be officially ordained with full denominational authority by any denomination in America. She became the Reverend Olympia Brown. Now let's give her a hand. Yeah. Women ought not to speak in public, said a minister at that time. Women ought not to take the pulpit or discuss the nature of God. But the Reverend Olympia Brown did. During the next 35 years, she was a minister in 5 different congregations, and she visited other congregations too, and she always took to the pulpit. In every single one, she spoke on the nature of God and love, and she did an excellent job. Olympia Brown had a voice, and she used it every day. So Carolyn, we want to thank you for sharing your voice with us this past year and a half. As you prepare for the next steps on your path to ordination, I hope you'll find strength in knowing that you stand on the shoulders of many amazing ministers, from Reverend Olympia Brown back in 1863, all the way up to Reverend Julia Hamilton in 2025. And we look forward to seeing where your path leads you. And we have a little treat for you, a little something sweet from See's Candy. It's from all of us in Children's RE, and because you know what? Every journey should have as much sweetness as possible along the way. That is our time for all ages.
I would like to invite us all now into a time of reflection, prayer, quiet meditation together. Perhaps take a moment just to settle yourself once again where you are. Maybe put your feet on the floor or hold your hands open. Attend to your breath and your body in this space as we settle into this time together. This past Friday at 6:42 p.m. here in Santa Barbara, the sun was at its northernmost point in the sky of the northern hemisphere, marking the longest day of the year and the turning point known as the summer solstice. And so I offer us this solstice prayer. The longest day has come. The gentleness of night retreats, and the clear, direct light shows us who we are, if we are able to unshield our gaze and see the truth of it. The short shadows hide nothing, not the joys, not the sorrows, not the grave injustices, and not the small acts of kindness. All is revealed in the radiance of the day's light. The sun shines on the just and unjust alike, on the war, the bombs, the rubble, the bodies. It makes no distinction between soldiers and civilians, and it has no opinion on geopolitical affairs. It makes no fuss about gender or documentation or the invisible boundaries of nation and religion and wealth. It shines, even above the rains, untouched by the clouds, untroubled by the dangerous weather in our thin atmosphere. It shines. The sun, a universality on the horizon of our shared existence. So may we take this solstice moment and make our prayers for clarity, for directness, for the same unflinching commitment to seeking truth and speaking justice that the sun brings to the illumination of all things. And in that clarity, in the bright light of these longest days, may we finally learn that the only shelter we have is love. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Let us enter into a time of quiet together. One of the great joys of long-term ministry with a congregation is that you get to see the congregation grow in new directions. And one of the ways I have seen the Unitarian Society grow is in your embrace of becoming a teaching congregation. That is to say, a congregation where people who hear the call to ministry are nurtured and inspired, and where we all become part of the work of shaping the future of Unitarian Universalism. Over the 14 years I have been here, I have been in relationship with 4 different people who have followed their path to Unitarian Universalist ministry from among us. Two of them were members of this congregation who decided to start their path here, Nika Eaton and Laura Young. Many of you may remember them. They are now serving congregations in Thousand Oaks and Salt Lake City. And we've added two more who arrived here as intern ministers. In 2018, we welcomed Nick Filzen as our intern here. He is now serving a congregation in Augusta, Georgia. And now Carolyn Bierke, who is completing her internship with us this month. Carolyn, come up here with me, please. And she will be working with a congregation in Santa Paula this fall as she completes the next steps of her process. A ministerial internship is no small thing. She has completed at least 1,000 hours with this congregation. That is the requirement of the internship. She has been shadowing all aspects of congregational life and taking on increasing leadership responsibilities over her time here. I meet weekly with Carolyn for supervision, and she meets monthly with an internship committee, who you're going to get to meet a little later on in this service. And ideally, a ministerial internship should be a mutually beneficial thing, and I am so delighted that that is true, so very true in this case. Carolyn learns, but we learn too. Reflecting with you on what it means to be a minister helps me deepen and grow in my call and my ministry, as I hope it does for yours. And as a congregation, it allows us all the chance to see things with fresh eyes. It's an opportunity to reflect on why we do things the way we do them. It's always good to have someone come in and ask, yes, but why do you do it that way? And it asks us to be intentional about the choices we make about how we build our community and our shared ministry together. And in addition, being a teaching congregation means that the love and the learning that happens here don't end here, but they go out into the wider world, and this congregation has an impact on the world in ways we may never know as you follow your call beyond these walls. Not every congregation has the time, resources, and staff to be a teaching congregation. And I remember that your internship was made possible by a gift from the estate of Charles McCracken, who was himself a lifelong learner and someone who was invested in the future of this tradition and the future of humanity at large. We here at the Unitarian Society are able to serve this way, and I am so grateful that this is true. And I will miss having you here with us at the Unitarian Society, but I know that you will be an asset to our faith wherever this path takes you. And so I'm going to invite you, as we have a few reflections from folks on your internship committee and our worship associate team, to join me on these stools up here so that you can be close. I'd like to invite Janice Risto forward. Janice, where are you? Come on up. Janice was the chair of Carolyn's internship committee here over the past year and a half. You get to sit on this one.
What happens when the room doesn't read you right? A reflection on resilience by one of our own. This is a good news, good news reflection. A song metaphor title for Carolyn's internship might be, "My Crooked Path Brought Me Straight to You." When Carolyn came to us nearly 18 months ago, it seemed like good luck all around. Julia was going on sabbatical, and the timing was right for Carolyn to fill in. Carolyn got open-hearted us and Reverend Julia as her mentor. We were all off to a good start. She came to this internship with the tapestry of talents, work and life experience, and collaborative intentions. She has a passion for nature, natural compassion, and an inspirational, personal, spiritual practice. Plus, she keeps chickens. 7, exactly. At first, she did not have Reverend Julia to shadow, so she had to find clarity on many fronts. What can only a minister do in this circumstance? What role does a minister have in resolving conflict in a pastoral group? Our society is meeting heavy, so she knew it was important to be present at board meetings and capital campaign meetings. She investigated places where she could be of most value to Reverend Julia and our congregation. From the beginning, her sermon subject matter was complex. One was on death and Jewish traditions, and a recent one was on joy and sorrow. She managed to make them interesting and cohesive. All of these tasks were in addition to required reading and classes. By December of 2024, she was preparing for her midterm evaluation by the Ministerial Fellowship Committee in Chicago. She had sent them a packet describing her completed assignments. She was ready to deliver a sermon for them, but it was on Zoom and not in person. By all measures, she had done the work and was ready. When Carolyn received the evaluation from these 7 MFC members, it was not at all reflective of what we, her little committee, and our congregation observed. The main caveat is that she could not go before them again until September of 2026, which is a really long time from now. I wanted to fly to Chicago with the petition and righteous indignation about the time frame. I soon realized that this was not like going to small claims court or appealing. There is no appeals process. This is about the place in the reflection where Reverend Julia quotes a person knowledgeable on the subject. So I offer this poem by Rumi, the 13th century Sufi poet. It's titled, "Who Makes These Changes?" Who makes these changes? I shoot an arrow right, it lands left. I ride after a deer and find myself being chased by a hog. I plot to get what I want and I end up in prison. I dig pits to trap others and I fall in. I should be suspicious of what I want. This disappointing evaluation certainly caused a wobble, and deep introspection was needed. How important was this path to Carolyn, and was it the only path that she wanted? What would the next immediate step be? And importantly, what does a woman with a heart like a teardrop and fierce determination do when she is standing in front of a high wall of no fair? Sorry. She decided to wait for a while and wait and see what would naturally unfold. It was not easy to wait. Eventually, she decided that being a minister was truly the work she is meant to do at this time of her life. I do not know what conversation she had with herself, but confidence in her decision was followed by joy and determination. She contacted the director of the MFC and asked what she could do. It was clear what was not an immediate option for her. He told her she could actually work as a minister now with the supervision of a minister. Lovingly, Reverend Julia agreed to be her supervisor, and she starts her new career as a minister in August at a very sweet church in Santa Paula. They do not have a music director, so she will be able to use all of her talents. Carolyn's resilience during a time of disappointment and being stuck in a place she wouldn't have chosen has been a tremendous and valuable lesson for me. She knows how strong and undeterred she is when the going gets tough. Somehow, her crooked path brought her to our congregation, where she has been loved and cheered on. I now know what it means to leap and the net will appear. In closing, I wish amor fati for Carolyn in her future. It is a Stoic philosophy created by Marcus Aurelius and later Friedrich Nietzsche. Amor fati translates as love of one's fate. It is used to describe an attitude in which one sees everything that happens in one's life, including suffering and loss, as good, or at least necessary. Carolyn, you are amazing.
Good morning again. My name is Ellen Brody, a member of the worship arts team and today's worship associate. I'm honored to be participating in this very special service, which for me is a mind-blowing combination of celebration, congratulations, and sadness. In short, it's offering me a practical lesson in holding contradictory thoughts and feelings. I must confess that I'm actually here by chance. While I would love to be able to report that when I typed my name into the Worship Associate slot in the service calendar, it was done with great intention. Truth is, facing a crazy summer schedule but wanting to do my part, I was way more concerned with date than either content or theme. Put another way, I was pretty oblivious to the fact that this would be Carolyn's last service as USSB's ministerial intern. But as unintended consequences go, this turned out to be a pretty auspicious one for me. As soon as I got it into my thick skull that Carolyn's time with us was drawing to a close, I knew I wanted to do more than simply sign a card wishing her well. As a worship associate, I had the privilege of connecting with her in a range of settings not available to the majority of the congregation. And I'd like to share a couple of these with you as a way of letting you know, at least from my perspective, both what she brought to us as a community and to me personally. Let me start with, for lack of a better term, the more mechanical aspects of my relationship with Carolyn. She was invaluable to me during Julia's sabbatical. I'm someone who can make a thoroughgoing pig's breakfast out of any Google Doc and goes into a complete panic when she can't instantly organize the numerous bits and pieces that make up a Sunday service. Thankfully, Carolyn was always there. She had the answers, and she shared them in ways that made me feel a whole lot less bumbling. Hi there. She never made me feel awkward or inadequate. In fact, just the opposite. She somehow conveyed the sense that addressing my panicky questions and day of service jitters were helping her to learn the ropes. While her assistance with mechanics is an important facet of my relationship with Carolyn, it pales in comparison with the sheer joy of creating the content of a Sunday morning together. While I had the privilege of working with her on several occasions, one stands out in my mind and has taken up permanent residence in my heart. The service in question was Passover, and as many of you know, I'm particularly passionate about sharing my Jewish tradition with the USSB community, and in years past, speaking about Passover has been a singular joy. But this service was in April 2024, post-Hamas's violent attack of October 7th, 2023, post-Israel's launch of its cruel, violent, and relentless destruction of Gaza, post the terrifying rise again of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia in our own country. While much of that time remains a bit of a blur to me, I do remember distinctly sitting with Carolyn in the workroom as we planned the service, and how her quiet demeanor quite literally talked me off the ledge. Then she surprised me by asking what I thought about her singing the late Jewish singer-songwriter Debbie Friedman's haunting Misha Berach, A Prayer for Healing. I was stunned and touched, and of course I said, great idea. Although somewhat in a daze, my sense was that the service was going smoothly, and I even got through my reflection without collapsing at the lectern. Then Carolyn stepped up to give her wonderful sermon. Fortunately, she, and not I, was slated to close the service by introducing the final hymn, speaking the benediction, and asking us all to call out a blessing. Because when she seamlessly turned from the words she had written for her sermon to filling the sanctuary with her beautiful voice, intoning Misha Berach, it took all my willpower not to lose my carefully cultivated composure. As she sang the refrain, "Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing," I knew that I was in the presence of a special soul, one who knew just the right path to follow. Thank you, Carolyn, for sharing your spirit, your honesty, your words, and your music with us. I'm so proud to have been with you on part of your incredible journey.
the River Clarion by Mary Oliver. I don't know who God is exactly, but I'll tell you this. I was sitting at the river named Clarion on a water-splashed stone, and all afternoon I listened to the voices of the river talking. Whenever the water struck a stone, it had something to say, and the water itself, and even the mosses trailing under the water. And slowly, very slowly, it became clear to me what they were saying. Said the river, I am part of holiness. And I too, said the stone, and I too, whispered the moss beneath the water.
I've been to the river before, a few times. Don't blame the river that nothing happened quickly. You don't hear such voices in an hour or a day. You don't hear them at all if selfhood has stuffed your ears. It's difficult to hear anything anyway through all the traffic, the ambition.
If God exists, he isn't just butter and good luck. He's also the tick that killed my wonderful dog, Luke. Said the river, imagine everything you can imagine, then keep going.
Imagine how the lily, who may also be a part of God, would sing to you if it could sing, if you would pause to hear it. And how are you so certain anyway that it doesn't sing?
If God exists, he isn't just churches and mathematics. He's the forest, he's the desert, he's the ice caps that are dying, he's the ghetto and the Museum of Fine Arts.
He's Van Gogh and Allen Ginsberg and Robert Motherwell. He's the many desperate hands cleaning and preparing their weapons. He's every one of us, potentially. The leaf of grass, the genius, the politician, the poet. And if this is true, isn't it something very important?
Yes, it could be that I am a tiny piece of God, and each of you too, or at least of his intention and his hope, which is a delight beyond measure. I don't know how you get to suspect such an idea.
I only know that the river kept singing. It wasn't a persuasion. It wasn't all the river's own constant joy, which is better by far than a lecture, which was comfortable, exciting, unforgettable.
Of course, for each of us, there is the daily life. Let us live it, gesture by gesture.
When we cut a ripe melon, should we not give it thanks? And should we not thank the knife, too? We do not live in a simple world.
There was someone I loved who grew old and ill. One by one, I watched the fires go out. There was nothing I could do except to remember that we receive and we give back.
My dog Luke lies in a grave in the forest. She is given back. But the river Clarion still flows from wherever it comes from to where it has been told to go. I pray for the desperate earth. I pray for the desperate world. I do the little each person can do. It isn't much. Sometimes the river murmurs, sometimes it raves.
Along its shores were, may I say, very intense cardinal flowers, and trees, and birds that have wings to uphold them, for heaven's sakes. The lucky ones. They have such deep natures. They are so happily obedient, while I sit here in a house filled with books, ideas, doubts, hesitations.
And still, pressed deep into my mind, the river keeps coming, touching me, passing by on its long journey, its pale, infallible voice, singing. So ends our reading. I'm going to invite Ellen to introduce the offertory, but I want to mention that when the basket gets passed around, following the offertory basket, 2 small bowls of river rocks will also be passed around. And I invite all of you to take one of those river rocks and just hold on to it for a moment, and you'll hear more instructions later.
Every Sunday, USSB donates 25% of our Sunday offering to support special projects and community partners that share our deepest values. This month, our outreach offering is for Juneteenth Santa Barbara, an organization that utilizes its platform to uplift the Black African American community and Black and African American-led and serving organizations, and plays a key role in coordinating Black History Month events and monthly Santa Barbara County Black Leaders meetings. Please give as generously as you can to ensure that Juneteenth Santa Barbara can continue its vital work, never more vital than it is at this moment. And please join me in saying the affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
your trust, and the steady way you've held space for me. To the internship committee for your care, encouragement, guidance, even in the moments when I was uncertain. And to the most amazing staff, Charla, John, Matthew, Aaron, Heather, Roberta, and Angie. Thank you for your warmth, your dedication, and your example. Every one of you has been a part of my formation. And to this congregation, you welcomed me with open arms. You listened to me, you let me try things. You showed up for what I brought, even when I wasn't quite sure where I was going. In these 18 months, I've led services about Passover and pride and joy, and even death, where I told 3 jokes in the pulpit. And underneath it all, something steady was moving. A voice was forming, and a voice was being heard. I'm so deeply grateful for that. And Mary Oliver writes of the Clarion River listening, not for an answer, but for something deeper. And she says, all afternoon I listened to the voices of the river talking. Whenever the water struck a stone, it had something to say. And slowly, very slowly, it became clear to me what they were saying. Said the river, I am part of the holiness. And I too, said the stone, and I too whispered the moss beneath the water. And in my time with you, I've come to understand that spirit and holiness speak in a steady flow. That holiness that makes its way through the narrow places. It keeps singing even when nothing happens quickly. It invites us to listen again and again until slowly something becomes clear. Rivers move through everything. And like every real journey, this one has not been all smooth water. There were moments when I felt unsure, exhausted, or stretched in ways I didn't expect. There were mistakes, apologies, challenging feedback, full hearts, and ever full calendars. There were sermons that came easily and sermons that I tore apart several times. And there were conversations that opened something tender. The river kept moving. And what I found and what I keep finding is that resilience doesn't always feel strong. Sometimes it feels soft. Sometimes it feels like letting go. Sometimes resilience is simply the willingness to stay in motion, to keep showing up with honesty, and to let yourself be reshaped. Mary Oliver writes, don't blame the river that nothing happened quickly. You don't hear such voices in an hour or a day. You don't hear them at all if selfhood has stuffed your ears. This community gave me the space and grace to listen, to be present. You challenged me not to be impressive, but to be real. And in that listening, I heard something like a voice that had been waiting, my own yes, but also yours, and also something older and deeper, the sacred flow that moves through us all. I was invited to bring my whole self, and what a gift that has been, to listen to the congregation, to the world, and to the still small voice within. And you met me there with openness and curiosity and compassion. You let me try things. You laughed with me, sang with me, and you shared your hearts in return. And that, more than anything, helped me to begin to trust this voice, this calling, and this work. Ministry, I've come to learn, is not made of only moments of clarity, but in the quiet gestures that stitch our community together. It's in the people who notice someone sitting alone and choose to sit beside them. It's in the conversations that happen in the courtyard or by the coffee. It's in lighting the candles, in holding silence, in singing a hymn with your whole heart when your voice breaks. Oliver says, let us live it gesture by gesture. When we cut the right melon, should we not give it thanks? And should we not thank the knife also? We do not live in a simple world. We live in this world where grief and beauty walk hand in hand, where we receive and then, as Oliver says, we give back. That is the cycle, the flow, the ministry. And the world we are giving back to needs us. In these hard times, people are suffering and afraid, and in the face of all that, it's easy to feel like what we have to offer will never be enough. But what I've learned in this community is that we may not be able to do everything, but we can do something. It's in this church's DNA to show up for immigrant families and trans youth, for those without shelter, for the earth, for each other. You show up because your values ask you to, because love does. This to me is ministry. It's life, it's love. We receive grace, wisdom, challenge, and present, and then we give it back, imperfectly, tenderly, and bravely. And this is what I carry with me from this time. This is what I hope that I have given you. And now I find myself at the moment where I begin to give back, not just with words of thanks, but with the way I go forward from here, with how I carry your voices, your stories, your trust, with how I offer what I've learned into the wider stream of Unitarian Universalist ministry. And so, dear ones, thank you for everything you've poured into me, everything you've taught me, spoken and unspoken, for letting me learn with you, cry with you, laugh with you, for trusting me to lead, and for reminding me that leadership is never solitary. It is relational. It is rooted, always flowing through us, never from us alone. And I will carry that with me always. Thank you from the deepest part of my heart. Thank you. Amen, and blessed be.
I have one more thing to do before we sing our final song, and that's offer a farewell blessing to Carolyn. So I would like members of her ministerial intern committee, if you want to just stay here up in front facing us, that would be great. We've got Goon Dukes and Eric Kruger, Janice Risto and Paul Stull, and Laura Haston is out of town but watching us and is with us in spirit. And these are the folks who have met regularly with Carolyn and her journey. And we have here... this is right now just a very simple, empty little fountain that is a gift to you. And we're going to fill this fountain, however, with river stones. All of you have a stone in your hand. If you want to hold that, I'm going to ask you to say your blessing into the stone in your hand, and then when you leave, the usher is going to collect those stones in a bowl, and we're going to add them into this fountain. I would like each member of the team here to take a stone, if you will. Here we go. Because wherever the water strikes a stone, it has something to say. And in this fountain, we're going to heap up stones of blessing for you on your path to ministry, so that when you turn it on and the water flows over them, you can hear our blessings with you wherever you go. So, as the water falls over these rocks, know that it is speaking our blessings for your ministry. And I have 4 blessings, one for each of you. And after I say the blessing, I'm going to ask you to put the stone in my hand, and I will place it in the fountain. The first blessing. In times of joy, may you be an amplifier, sharing and increasing the delight among your community, knowing that joy is one of the great gifts of life and that it is meant to be shared. The blessing of joy. In times of grief, may you be a comfort, creating safe haven for broken hearts and spaces of healing for hurting souls. the blessing of comfort. In times of trouble, may you be a guiding song, reminding people that love is at the center of all we do and inspiring movement toward the good. A blessing for guidance. And in times of fear, may you be a courageous light, not because you are unafraid, but because you show people it is possible to move through fear into action and change. The blessing of courage. And may you receive the blessings of joy, comfort, guidance, and courage in your own life, sustaining and inspiring you for all the days of your service to this faith. You are a blessing. May you be a blessing to the world. Yes. You may be seated. We are going to rise together and sing our closing hymn, Wake Now My Senses. This is a hymn that gathers us around the call of ministry in our tradition for many, many years, and we're going to sing 4 out of the 5 verses. They'll be on the screen. It's in your gray hymnal.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with the people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
The river still moves. It flows and it sings. May each of us continue to listen for that song. May we hear it in times of tension and sorrow, and also in moments of joy and unfolding. May we trust its rhythm. May we live as those who stood in the stream and know its voice. Let us carry it forward together and apart in gratitude, in wonder, and in love. Amen. And let us call out a blessing.